Hello, everyone, and welcome to SCORE Fairfield County's live webinar on branding, finding your story and telling it. I'm Ruth Kelly, the webinar coordinator and a business mentor here at SCORE Fairfield County, and I'll be your host today. Your speaker is Sharon Arena. More on Sharon in just a minute. First, a brief information about SCORE. Sharon, can you move to the next slide? You will see we have here in Fairfield County over 130 volunteers with a wide range of industry background. We're part of the Small Business Administration. We have free one-on-one business mentoring, and you can see on the screen how to access that. We have business education programs that include in-person workshops and online webinars, which is exactly what you're watching right now. In addition, we have on our website extensive resources about a variety of business tools and information. So for more information, you can visit SCORE website, which is fairfieldcounty.score.org. Now, some information about today's event. If you have a question, please use the chat window at any time during the presentation. It's located at the bottom of the screen. Our webinar will end at 1 o'clock to respect your time. The session is being recorded, and the link to the session will be available on fairfieldcounty.score.org in the next couple of days. Now, for our speaker. Sharon Arena has over 15 years experience in sales, marketing, and operations management. As a business owner, she understands the importance and dedication business owners need to be able to work with their clients and marketing activities. As a marketing strategist, she's worked with small businesses and larger companies, which include many industries and nonprofits, in developing solutions to increase their presence online. I'll turn it over to Sharon. Sharon, now it's all yours.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you. Happy Friday. What better than to talk about branding on a Friday? Something fun, I hope. So this is branding, finding your story and telling it. So imagine, I don't know how many of you are business owners, or maybe you're just getting started, maybe you're a seasoned business owner, or maybe you work for a company and you're curious to learn more about branding. But do you know your tagline? Or maybe you have a specific color palette. And would you ever use your skills and past experiences to really stand out from everyone else, or finding common interests with your audience through storytelling? All of this is overall part of your branding. So first of all, let's talk about what is a brand. So here's an example about brand consistency, and really about how a brand consistency helps a brand for consumers and companies. So as you can see, this 86% and then 81%, those numbers represent statistics of brand consistency when you're a consumer. And the 33% and 20% that you see here is really how companies found that how brand consistency really grew their business. So what exactly is brand consistency? Well, according to HubSpot, brand consistency is how an organization delivers messages aligned with its core values, mission, concluding, and a consistent brand experience. So first impressions, what do you think about them? And no matter what you hear, that they're not everything, especially when it comes to your brand. Okay, so now you're probably scratching your head, right? I know I thought about that at first too. So what really is everything when it comes to a brand? Consistency. And it's the reason why consumers keep coming back to you, to their favorite brand time and time again. Think about going to a restaurant. You go there because you like something and it's a consistent. All of a sudden the menu changes and maybe they're not consistent, so you might go somewhere else. So in order to work on consistency and tell your story, you need a brand strategy. Strategy. So what is a brand strategy, and really, how do you create one? So I put an example here. This is what's known as a brand strategy sheet. There's many other different names for it. It's pretty much a long-term plan developed to help your company achieve their specific goals. A lot of companies do have this. And what's great about this is because anybody that you have in your company, whether you have 5 workers or 500 workers, this is what should be consistent all throughout those people. So many marketers will even say that the fun part about creating a brand is designing the logo, picking out all the pretty colors, fonts, images, but it's much more than that. So again, the important elements of a brand, or this is a style guide, is logo, color, fonts, and images. So we're talking about the basics here, and we'll get into the story because this is very important as well. Let's go over some of this brand strategy elements. So logo. This is arguably the most memorable piece of a brand's collateral. So think Starbucks, McDonald's, Apple, Nike. So it's funny, I was just driving back from North Carolina last week and driving through back roads, and I noticed that McDonald's, it was just the golden arches and the little red bottom. It didn't even say McDonald's anymore. But you and me, we look at that and we know automatically that it's McDonald's. And I'm sure even all these 9 logos right here, you could probably identify each and every one of them without me having to tell you. So looking at these logos, you can automatically recognize that who the brand is and most likely what they stand for. And that's because each of these companies have a unique and genuine brand story to tell, such as its history, its purpose, the value, and that you can connect with their audience on many different levels. Colors, the fun part. But did you know that there's such thing as a brand color psychology? Yes. So just because your favorite color might be forest green, I'm a navy girl, it might not fit with your overall brand and story. So color psychology is actually the study of colors in retention to human behavior. And it's focused on determining how colors affect our day-to-day decisions, such as the color of a shirt, the color of an icon, or the color of a package. When you go to the grocery store and you say, oh my goodness, you're overwhelmed with everything, you might make a decision on the logo, the packaging, the color. All that reflects our decision-making process. And that's why certain brands, so think fast food, right? Again, McDonald's, it's lunchtime. So think McDonald's again, Burger King, Arby's, Wendy's. And if you look at the red, it's exciting. So you're exciting, hungry food. So think about that next time when you're looking at a bunch of different brands. Talking more about colors, and a lot of the marketing, a lot of brand strategies and have what's called a color palette. So let's go back to the red in the McDonald's. So McDonald's, they have to figure out, okay, well, we just can't use red everywhere. We have to come up with a good color scheme that goes with it. So they, of course, chose yellow or a palette, and it can really go a long way. So here's an example of, you can see there, this is from this website. It's called COLLORS.co. I love this. You can put in any color and it'll give you all different types of versions of a color palette, and it'll give you the name of the color and you could save it. And this is a great free tool that you can use to come up with a color palette for you. And just like color palettes, there's tons of different fonts. This is another part of it to use. And it's important in any brand to use fonts that are clear and legible. You also don't want to have too many fonts that they look like a mix between calligraphy and a preschooler. So you should aim for fonts, especially when designing websites or any other kind of collateral, by defining which one should be used as headers, descriptions, body, copy, etc. So here's an example of some font pairs. There are a few free websites, and I have at the bottom, fontpair.co and fontspace.com. And so FontPair can actually help you choose different font pairs from popular ones to different types. And FontSpace is a website where you can actually search through thousands of fonts. There's even a preschool font, believe it or not, and you can download them all for free. So next, we want to talk about, so how do we kind of get the idea of these colors and vision? I'm sure we all know what a vision board is, or even have a Pinterest. So let's talk about images. So as you can see here, here's an example. You want to think about what your style is. So are you more of a black and white person? Do you like abstract photos, adventure candidates, or are you more cartoonish or fashion? The images in your brand will also represent your overall story and who you are. So here's an example. These a couple of them, you can see one, it's the middle one, it's fashion, it's clean. The one to the left, it's fun, it's bright, it's bubbly. So that should tell the brand's story and personality. Does anybody have any questions so far? And you can certainly, if you want to put a question in the chat, I have the chat open, so I can certainly answer as I go along. All right, so now that you have the how of putting together an amazing brand, so let's get to the who, what, why, and how. So there's many times that I've come across a client who has a big idea and they can't wait to get to their product to the market. But a lot of times they say, okay, well, tell me your story. And they can't tell me the reason of their story. They can't tell me the why or how it might resonate with their target audience. So they might know the name of the company and they might have an idea of a logo, but they could not explain what they stood for or their message that they were sending. So listen, look, and leverage. We always say as business owners or anybody, if you're in sales, anything, listen, listen, listen. And this is probably the most important word that you'll hear when asking how brands got to be successful with their audiences. Listen to what your customers, your prospects, and others are saying and what really helps them make decisions about choosing your brand. Look, it's okay. And it's actually advised. You can look at your competitors. I mean, look at Ford and Chevy, for example. I mean, this one's coming out with the Ford Mustang. This one's coming out with the Chevy Camaro. They're constantly going back and forth, seeing what their competitors are doing. But yet, Ford with their electric Mustang, they're answering a question of their consumers, and we'll get more into that. So again, it's okay to look at your competition. Look what they're doing. What tools and what ideas are they utilizing to make them stand out from the crowd? Maybe they redid their logo because it's been 10 or so years and it's outdated. Look to see what trends are happening in your industry, and that should really help you put everything together. And leverage. So take all these into account to figure out who you are and what you stand for. Creating an authentic brand story is about finding a problem, ways to solve, define this, and be 100% transparent throughout the process. So I always say any kind of reaction is better than no reaction. You want to get people talking, whether it's good, bad, you're going to get it. Think about when you post something on social media or you say something. Everybody, of course, as my mother always says, an opinion's like a nose. Everyone has one. But let me show you. So not long ago, everybody probably knows who this man is. So not long ago, Nike did this campaign with Colin Kaepernick. And you know, he's probably best as the NFL player who turned activist. And so I'm putting this here because Nike knew that putting an ad out there with this man, that it would be diverse. But the whole purpose of it is it proved that the Nike brand knew what they stood for. And they were actually very successful because this caused such a stir. It actually really helped Nike with their brand, and they actually increased their sales. So can you see it? Once you figure out your brand self-identity, show me, don't tell. So you want to build a story from the ground up, and don't get frustrated if you can't tell the story right away. It takes time and patience. So I always say with marketing, when you're first starting out, you want to look at it as one of those big skyscraper buildings. You see, they start building with the foundation, and the foundation is underground and you don't see it. But that takes the longest time, and it's the most strongest part of the story of your marketing. Eventually, once that's finished, then you'll start to see the progress and moving up to completion. Having a clear vision will help explain to people who you are as a company, and rather than constantly trying to sell yourself. So another way to start your story is having a vision statement. And a vision statement, this is a short description that will help you define your brand's values and your plan for the future. And it's important that anyone working with you follows along with the same vision statement. So I posted a screenshot of my website, and Trust me, this took a long time for me to figure out the We Believe Simple ideas. It took me a while. I went to a class a couple of years ago in New York City, and every time I had a vision, I was in a room of a bunch of people, and I said, nah, it doesn't speak to me. It's not really your vision. We all think about it, but if you really think about your vision statement, your tagline, your mission, does it really follow along with your brand? Your audience. So did you ever tell a joke to the wrong crowd and instantly regret it? I know I have many times, foot and mouth. Sometimes I blab too much, but it's probably because you didn't know your audience. Oops. So they say you can't tell a good story if you don't know who your audience is. And in the marketing world, we call your audience, or an example of your target audience, your target market, a buyer persona. So here's an example of the wrong buyer persona or target audience. So a while back, I had a client who wanted to use social media to promote his church in Miami, Florida. So he said, oh, what about Snapchat? We'll do that. And we'll use that as a platform to target new churchgoers. And I loved his enthusiasm, but I said, well, after looking at your current audience, we looked at his Facebook page and some of the statistics. I said, well, 95% of your audience are women over 65, and they're probably not using Snapchat. So we decided to go a different route. But it's just an example of, you got to know who your audience is. So again, how do you find out your buyer persona? And so here are some components. So demographics. What is their gender, marital status, personality traits, age range, income levels, role and seniority. So if you're a B2B business, if you're marketing to other companies, it's important to know who you'll be dealing with in that business. So who is the decision maker? Are they a board member? Are they a VP? Are they the CEO? Chances are the IT guy might not be the decision maker, but it's important to know that, especially with the product or services that you are selling. And activities. What is your buyer's daily routine? So for example, especially when you're branding yourself in social media or other platforms, the CEO, for example, are they on LinkedIn at 7 a.m. checking updates and possibly reading the news? Or are they a stay-at-home mom who gets to check her Pinterest or Instagram during her kids' afternoon naps? So it's important to kind of know their activities and their daily habits. Pain points, this one is huge. So your buyer persona has a problem, which they're going to be looking for someone to solve. And brands that are able to answer their pain points will often provide value and make their audience's lives better. There are more components that you can use, such as objectives and activities, but for now, we're just focusing on these four. And I want to make a side comment about pain points. A lot of people will ask if they're kind of stuck on figuring out how to market their brand, say on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, any of those. Well, what the heck do I say? And how do I market myself? I would say, think about your clients' top 10 pain points. Like, oh, I can't stand this, or I'm having issues with that. Like, why did they come to you? Use those pain points and turn that into educated information that you can put out there, whether through a blog or just in conversation. And that'll really help, again, market your brand. So your expertise, what are you good at? What is your business and what are you really good at? So for example, what are you good at that separates you? If you're a realtor, what makes you different from the tens of thousands of other realtors competing for business? We all know a realtor, and I'm sorry if I'm picking on any realtors, but what makes you stand out? And I've spoken with some realtors, and we've determined that they should lead with what they're good at, their expertise. So for example, maybe you work really well with young families moving from New York City to a Connecticut suburb, or maybe you have a knack for helping baby boomers sell their current home and downsize. But whatever you may be really good at, market that, make that part of your brand story. Elements in your story. So Ruth, to answer your question before, salty red dog marketing. So salty red dog marketing actually has two elements in this story, and it actually comes from the company name. And people always ask, well, How did you come up with the name Salty Red Dog Marketing? So one, I have a red dog named Danny, and there he is. We just were in the Outer Banks last week and celebrated his 14th birthday. And two, I grew up in a nautical family. So there are times that people who are also dog lovers or sailors can relate, and there's that instant connection. So since those elements are part of my brand story, my overall brand story, so think logo, photos, and color palette, match that. I use nautical elements throughout, so everything is consistent. And having a dog and being a sailor also gives my audience the security that, hey, I'm a real life person with real life experiences, and that I can definitely relate to you. So don't be that guy. Don't be that guy that tells a story and you lose your audience after the first 5 minutes. Keep it simple. And I put wonderful Sophia from the Golden Girls because I love it. Picture it, Sicily, 1922. She knows how to tell a story. She keeps it simple. And will your story create emotion? Will it solve a problem? How did your company solve a problem? And what does success look like? You want to be human. You want to be human in your storytelling. In order to connect your audience, you must choose to embrace your personas and learn how to connect. And think of modern brands such as actors, that they're always in real life interactions with others. Your brand tones should be like if it was a person. Would it be agile or conservative, wise and experienced, young and bold? It'll take time to build your brand's voice, but when you see your audience responding, that's when you know that you are on the right path. Telling your brand story isn't a one and done thing. You'll need to figure out which stories resonate with your target audience frequently, especially if you're just starting out. It doesn't take a day. It takes some time. And as I said, patience. As you continue to move forward, you want to focus on setting up your brand for success at every stage. So, quick overview. So your brand storytelling review. A brand storytelling, what does it explain? Your brand story explains what you do. What do you do? I'm a marketer. How do I do it? I do it because I like to listen to people, and I like, as a third generation business owner, I can relate to business owners. And that's why I do it. How do I do it? I listen. I like to sit down and I like to hear their story. I like to hear their brand story because listening to their brand story will help me market them. And again, then that's where that brand consistency comes in. So also it represents your brands, your mission. We talked about your vision. What are your values and what are your beliefs? Everybody that works for you or works in your company, your business, you should have these mission, vision, values, and beliefs. If you don't have these, you definitely should. This is typically part of your overall marketing, your business plan and your overall marketing plan. And it's always good to review these, and it's okay to tweak them every once in a while. Visions change, missions sometimes change, but it's just important to, again, be consistent. So storytelling, again, it helps to build trust. I like when you chat with somebody. I like meeting people face to face, but not now. But talking to them and connecting with them emotionally on a different level, like talking to an old friend, and people feel that trust. You want to, it takes time, especially when we think of marketing and we think of the sales aspect of it. Those who are really involved with sales, you know that you can't just, oh, okay, sell, sell, sell. It takes time to build that trust and that loyalty. And that's where I go to the second point, increase customer loyalty and inspire engagement, storytelling. You want to engage people when you're posting on social media platforms, when you're telling stories, you want to be able to engage with people too, because that'll help them remember. So writing a brand story, when you write it, and there's so many places, especially if you go to HubSpot.com, they have a ton of templates that can also help with writing your brand story. You want to make sure that you're honest and transparent. Be who you are. I say that because it's hard to be authentic and genuine when you're not who you are. I remember a while ago, I had a woman who said that she didn't want to work with me because I wasn't corporate-y enough. That's okay. I'd rather be honest and transparent of who I am and how I can help them. You want to plan a clear structure, and you want to include important facts too about your brand, and leave an open ending. What I mean by that is things change. I mean, how many of us would never in a million years, well, maybe let's just say 2 or 3 years ago, think that we would be doing so much business virtually now? We wouldn't. So the difference between a lot of those brands when 2020 and the pandemic hit is that they didn't put a period at the end of their branding. They adjusted their brand, maybe their mission, their values. And again, they were there to help answer questions of their target audience on how they can help them and solve the problem. So I'm going to open it up to any kind of questions. And I know that's a lot, and I'm super happy to send this to anybody. And then also I have a marketing plan template for 2022, and I'm super happy to send that out to anybody that's interested. And we'll have a lot of the stuff about brands, but please, if anybody has any questions, certainly put it in the chat.
Well, thank you, Sharon. We do have a couple of questions. And just as a reminder, this webinar is going to be available on our website in a couple of days too. And we have a question that I am sure Sharon can answer. What is the name of your, there it is.
There it is. Yes, there it is. So if you are, I guess, if you're interested in receiving this, and then also the marketing plan, if you want to put your email in the chat, that's always great too. And okay, so let's see, Ronald, why would I need a brand story, or where would I put up my brand story? So that's a good question. Why would you need it? So if you think about it, going back to having a business or selling yourself, what is the story behind it? It's about the brand. Having a brand is about connecting. Oh boy, can you repeat the website for color palette? Yeah, so any of this stuff, again, I'll send it out. I see a ton of emails, and that's great. So I guess I'll wait to see. I'm trying to scroll through all this. Oh, the website for the color palette. So yeah, actually I'll include another slide on here. It's interesting about some of the different colors and the logos, some of the famous logos that you see out there. For one example, the color blue, we have BMW, we have Ford, GM. How many of those, the car brands are in blue? So again, I'll add a slide in this about some examples.
I think you did have, I noticed that you had the website for the color.
Oh, yes. Yes.
And people can go to color also.
Yes. So so this includes the color palette as well.
So it's fascinating. Books have been written about this subject. It's
Yes. So it's about storytelling. It's about connecting with people. You know, if you've ever been networking, you meet people and you connect with them by telling a story, and that's how we build relationships and building trust. And many successful brands out there have a story. And it's sometimes you may think that you don't need it, but in all honesty, it represents, if you think about your brand is you, and it's your overall story. I mean, my story, why the heck did I want to start this business? Who am I? Why did I want to start it? I mean, that's my story, and that goes out to the brand. They may have any more questions, and thank you so much for all the emails, and I'll certainly send this out along with that marketing plan template.
I think the best way is to address Sharon directly at her email for Sharon@Salty Red Dog Marketing. But we do want to point out that this is going to be repeated on our Fairfield County in a couple of days. But so which either way you go, Um, but I do suggest that if you, for some reason, want it immediately,
Yeah.
now is the time. We had a couple of questions.
Oh, yeah.
Word of mouth marketing. How do you suggest promoting word of mouth marketing? I mean, having people talk about you. I guess that really comes down to.
I would say your current clients right now, your biggest advocates. They really are. 95% of most businesses are referral based. So have your clients be your current clients be your advocates for you, and also volunteering your time, doing something like this, getting the word out. I'm sure we all love what we do. And if we can all share our experiences and our stories and having a very interesting story to tell, then that is something that is a way that you can tell your story through word of mouth.
Now, here I have something here from Elena. Maybe you see this. In my business, the Wavy Bunch, I collect handmade and vintage clothing from cultures around the world. Sometimes because of the travel, I feel like everything can be part of my branding. Food from places, traditions, cultures. Do you ever have businesses where their story covers everything? Or is that too broad?
Well, it's a lot to be everywhere. Try to pick out a couple key pieces that you're excellent at or that you have, and kind of do it in layers. So you have your three main goals, your focuses, and then something that will bring people to you, and then you can always kind of focus on the little thing. I know it could certainly feel overwhelming. I like, for example, with my website, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that has to do with marketing. Oh my goodness, there's tons of stuff, but pick out 3 things that you're the best at and brand it and market it the best you can.
Here is a question from Larry. Do you recommend having a separate page on your website talking about your brand story?
Absolutely. Absolutely. People like to hear that. I love hearing stories about how people started their business or the reason why. Like, for example, Elena, I'd be interested to hear about why you wanted to do handmade and vintage clothing. There's always a story, and people love hearing stories of the reason why. You would never, I could tell you my story another day, but I originally went to school for nuclear medicine. And why the heck did I change over to marketing? Well, that's a story.
Here's another question. How much time do you recommend a small business owner spend on social media? That's like almost like saying, how much time do you spend on marketing? You and I were talking the other day, all the time, right?
Well,
but for social media, that's another question. How much money do you recommend investing?
So as far as the time goes, when there's so many different platforms, and again, a lot of people think that you need to be everywhere. Just pick one, especially if you're a small business owner and you might not have much time, and just get yourself familiar with it and just focus on one to start. 1 post a week, 2 posts a week, that's fine. As long as people know that, hey, you're active, you're out there, you don't need to go crazy. Social media has changed so much in the past 10 years where people thought you needed to post all the time, every hour, on the hour, but start with one platform at a time, and then you can work your way from there, and make sure it's a platform that your target audience is on. And as far as money goes, recommending, if you don't have the time, well, it depends on really what you need. If you are going to be posting once a week, compared to if you're going to have somebody posting on 4 different channels and writing blogs for you and things like that. So a key factor in any kind of business or marketing plan is you want to have a marketing budget of about 30%, but that's including, outbound marketing, maybe flyers, website design, maybe Google ads, Facebook ads, things like that.
Sharon, I have a question. I'd like to hear a little bit more about how you identify pain points.
Okay.
Everybody has a pain point, but how do you know?
So a big pain point and a big issue that I would see in my field is that a lot of times, yes, we're all in the digital age now, and anybody could post. But it's about, so a lot of people get frustrated. They say, well, I'm not getting anything, and oh, my daughter's friends from high school, she could do social media, she could post for me. Well, that's great. If she knows, does she know your buyer persona? Does she know about what you're selling? Does she know what to post? So pain points. If you are, I'm trying to think of an industry here. So let's just go back to clothing with Elena, and a client's pain points is maybe they say, you know what, I really love cultural vintage clothing, but I have such a hard time finding it or finding my size or something like that. And I'm sure we all have people that have these certain questions or pain points, but it's when you are listening to your target audience, ask them, what really bothers you? The biggest reason also that I see why, let's just say a B2C company a lot of people would leave is because of customer service. I mean, I've been in industries where, all right, so you sell somebody a product and then you never hear from them again. And that's probably the biggest reason that, probably a big pain point with why people leave certain companies and go to another one, because they never hear from them again. So that's a pain point, for example.
So that would be maintaining customer relationships.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I've heard it said that your best customers are the ones you already have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think once you get to know them, you can expand on what your brand is all about and what some personal things mean to you. This is how they remember you. Do you feel that getting to know your clients or getting them to know you is an important point?
Yes, absolutely. I am very transparent when I meet with people because I want them to get to know me too. I mean, when people are spending money on their business, and it could be scary, especially when it comes to marketing, because it's sometimes, it's what you're scared and it's your baby and you're not sure. But I love to be kind of transparent about, well, this is what you can expect. And that's very important with your overall brand and how you go about speaking with these people.
Here's a question I didn't see before. Maybe you did, Sharon, from Ronald. Why would I need a brand story? Well, we've certainly talked a lot about that, but or where would I put up my brand story? The story, of course, is one point. Your branding, but there's so many more things too. So how about all the peripheral things that people maybe don't think about, like their business card, their stationery, the way that if they do write letters or how they communicate should be with the same format all of the time?
You want to be consistent, absolutely. It would be kind of interesting if, let's just say, your brand, you had a certain brand. For example, I have my certain colors and my fonts and my kind of the nautical thing going. And then all of a sudden, if somebody got a letter from me and it just had this so different, crazy, they're going to think, oh, okay, well, that's different. And so with the brand story, I mean, it's a story about the company. When you have a business or you have a product, you're selling yourself. So just like the brand, you're selling the brand by telling the story of it, and absolutely put it in your website. And it's all part of when you do talk to somebody about what you do and how you can help them. It's important to tell the story as well so people can connect.
Well, so many people are asking for copies. Now, as just to repeat, because I don't think it's redundant, we will repeat this on our website, but if you directly write to Sharon, her email, you see it on there, Sharon at saltyreddogmarketing.com. And if there's something particular that you're interested in, would you be willing to answer those questions?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So certainly write me an email. I want to answer everybody's question and in detail and really specific to them. So yes, certainly send me an email, and I am more than happy to spend the time. Either I'm happy with a phone call or email or anything. And I love this stuff. So I'm happy to answer any questions and really help you out.
I think you've covered a very broad subject in a very good way, because as I think I said before, my observation is everything is marketing, everything is branding, and you have to develop. I liked one point that was very interesting to me. You don't just open something up and it's there forever. It grows with you as your business grows. So it is important to review this. How often do you think you should take a look at the overall picture, or has somebody to take a look at it with you? So,
well, for example, October will be Q4 for 2021. So that is a good time to start planning out your overall marketing plan for 2022. And a lot of times you can review it quarterly and adjust it and things like this. You want to be able to, when you're marketing yourself, you want to be able to record the reactions as well and the results, because you're not going to be able to grow and pivot from that if you don't look and see what the results are. Larry, you mentioned about what's the best way to deliver your story to your audience. Where you have to figure out first, where is your audience the most? So if they're, of course, your website, absolutely put your brand story on there. But where is your audience? Think about that. And of course you can put it on, you want to figure out on smaller things such as your social media and print. You might want to just focus on your mission statement or what your vision is, something short and sweet. The social media, print, everything else, all that stuff should, of course, have your website on it, so then they can learn more about your story.
Do we have any more questions that we might have overlooked? I think you've done a wonderful job of covering a broad subject succinctly with some good examples. And you'll have a chance to look at the thing as many times as you want to.
Yes, I'm trying to screenshot everybody's email right now, because I want to I want to be able to send this to everybody. But yes, thank you so much, everybody, for being here. And I know it's lunchtime now, so but yes, thank you. And certainly email me. That's my email address on here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. And again, if you didn't put your email in the chat, email me if you're still interested.
Well, I don't think the email will show up in the chat. So if you have specific questions that you don't think will be covered by a copy, but don't please all just send to her when you know that you can look at it on our website, because that's a big job. So check our website for information and about upcoming webinars too. We have a lot of them. Reminder that SCORE offers free individual counseling. So use the link on the screen and visit our website. They also have sessions by phone, email or video, and webinars at the moment. And we're going to be sending out an evaluation very shortly after this. And please do fill it out, because we'll share those with Sharon. And from my standpoint, I appreciate everything that you've done, Sharon, and I thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
So a big thank you to you, and have a nice rest of the day and a great weekend.
All right. Thank you, everyone.